Oh, I'll wait till you're done. Let the dog go while you're there.
So they jump it out.
Thanks. Bye.
Good morning. Good morning. Our gathering hymn this morning is 360, and your great hymnal, Here We Have Gathered. Please rise in body or spirit as able.
Very familiar with, so I'll just do the last two bars tune.
Is it? Is the mic on?
Doesn't sound right.
Mic's not on?
Ready?
Not ready to go.
Oh, true.
Is it on now?
It's on.
You gotta be on the horn. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Oxford. I'm Cheryl Conley, your worship associate today. Whether you are a longtime member or a first-time visitor, we welcome you here. Come with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands. You are welcome here no matter your age, your size, the color of your hair or skin or eyes. Come whatever abilities, whomever you love. We come together for worship, which for us as Unitarian Universalists is defined as giving honor, reverence, and regard to something in our congregation. Worship does not refer to adoration, but more often to reverence and gratitude for the wonder of nature and of being. Our worship services are delightfully multi-generational when there are children here. He didn't say that, I just threw that in. With all ages, abilities, and learning styles in mind, as the Sunday services team plan our time together, upholding our shared values, we come together today to celebrate in our interdependence and honor the spirit of generosity, all of which is centered in love. It is good to be together in this pluralistic community, this congregation, to wake now to compassion and conscience as we work toward a planet transformed by our care. Now I will share some announcements with you. From Andy Fringer, Andy and Michelle Harvey are looking for 1 or 2 people to help out with the silent auction preparation and planning this year. Instead of dumping it all on Michelle at the last minute, we're trying to do a committee this year and do things in advance. So they're looking for a couple of folks that are interested in helping plan it and organize it. And by the way, start thinking about your items and events for your silent auction. The events are very popular, dinners and that type thing, firefly walks. Where are you? You're here somewhere. And there you are. And things like that. And so the silent auction, I think it's early November. I can't remember when we decided. November 16th, right. So yeah, any ideas you have, any events you want to enter, just let the committee know once the committee is formed, and see Michelle and Andy, or Andy if you want to be on the committee. Another announcement is from Carmen. Please support a drive to collect children's clothes for people in our area. New or slightly used clothes would be gratefully accepted. And there's this little card, there's some out in the foyer as well. You can scan the QR code. They actually have a wish list on Amazon. If you don't have anything to donate, you can purchase some things for them. And then we're starting our OWL series on the 4th Sunday of the month from August to November from 2 to 4 p.m. We will be running the adult series of the OWL program. So that will be, you can see either Sarah or Wendy to sign up for that. And Sarah will be hosting it correct. She'll be doing it correctly too. Just so you know. On September 28th, the longest table from 4:30 to 6:30, the longest table is a free university gathering that brings together students, faculty, staff, and community members for a shared meal. It'll be in the circle in front of the Lyceum. There's a link in your insert if you want to tap into that. And then spiritual protest and call to action, October 18th from 11 to 1 at the square to show solidarity with the Black churches and faith leaders in Mississippi in recent light of all the anti-DEI initiatives. There's a flyer on the entry table, or contact Reverend Sarah at minister@uuoxford.org for more information. Any other announcements? Oh, and as a reminder, the grief, gratitude, and growth slips are available from the greeter, and they're also in the basket. If you have a moment you'd like to share, please write them down and drop them in the basket when the offering comes around. Now let us enter into a sacred celebration with a call to community. Our call to community today is from Kathleen McTeague. We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking the time to look into one another's faces and see communion, the reflection of our own eyes. This house of laughter and silence, memory and hope is hallowed by our presence together. Recognizing the beauty held within this committee, let us offer one another a gesture of holy hospitality. You're invited to share a moment with the folks around you, extend a hand in peace, offer a hug, or perhaps a word of welcome. As a practice of consent, if you would prefer not to engage in this ritual, simply place your hand over your heart and folks will honor your choice. And now please turn to your neighbor and look into their faces and see the reflection of your own eyes. chalice lighting this morning is by Albert Schweitzer. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has a cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted a flame within inside us. Our reading this morning is A Blessing of Beauty by John O'Donohue. This was provided by Robin. I think it's beautiful. May the beauty of your life become more visible to you, that you may glimpse your wild divinity. May the wonders of the earth call you forth from all your small secret prisons and set you free in the pastures of possibilities. May the light of dawn anoint your eyes, that you may behold what a miracle a day is. May the liturgy of twilight shelter all your fears and darkness within the circle of ease. May the angel of memory surprise you in bleak times with new gifts from the harvest of your vanished days. May you allow no dark hand to quench the candle of hope in your heart. May you discover a new generosity towards yourself and encourage yourself to engage your life as a great adventure. May the outside voices of fear and despair find no echo in you. May you always trust the urgency and wisdom of your own spirit. May the shelter and nourishment of all the good you have done, the love you have shown, the suffering you have carried, awaken around you to bless your life 1,000 times. And when love finds the path to your door, may you open like the earth to the dawn and trust your every hidden color towards its nourishment of light. May you find enough stillness and silence to savor the kiss of God on your soul and delight in the eternity that shaped you, that holds you and calls you. And may you know that despite confusion, anxiety, emptiness, your name is written in heaven. And may you come to see your life as a quiet sacrament of service, which awakens around you a rhythm where doubt gives way to grace and wonder, where what is awkward and strained can find elegance, where crippled hope can find wings, and torment enter at last unto the grace of serenity. May divine beauty bless you. Our community hymn this morning is number 203, All Creatures of the Earth and Sky.
We want to do all five verses. Just two sort of hitting the bottom.
How about three?
Just three more. It's been a while since we've done this one, so I'll play it through once, so I'll play it through 4 times.
Please stand as you are able. And now Wendy will give us our time for all ages.
So we're going to start a new thing. Andy reminded me that when our kids were little, we took them to a museum, and there was an African storyteller there from West Africa. His name was Raouf Mama, and he started every story that he told with a call and response, with him saying, "Story time," and the group saying, "Story time." So we're going to try that. I say story time, you say it. Story time.
Story time.
You got it right the first time, nice and loud, good job. I have a wonder box. I'm gonna let y'all open it. Who wants to open? Just need somebody to open it for me. Ellie, you're such a good sport. All right, Ellie. What's in here? Yeah, and it has a little top to it. Oh, cute. Thank you. All right, so our story today is about Grandmother Spider. And this story, I may have told it here a while ago, but this is a story that is told across the Southeast. It comes from the Choctaw, the Chickasaw. There are many traditions and versions. I listened to and read a few. It's a story of Grandmother Spider, and it's another story of fire. And I think it's really interesting that that just seems to be a theme for us lately, fire bringing. I think it maybe speaks to the moment when where we're thinking a lot about the light of civilization and how we call it into our lives. So this story is about a time when the world was dark. In the beginning, all of the people and the animals and the birds and the insects were set down upon earth in little cocoons. And when those cocoons opened, they came out, and their limbs were kind of soft and rubbery. They didn't know how to move yet, and it was dark, and they could see nothing. And they got used to moving around, but it was hard because it was cold, and it was just, they were bumping into each other. Some could see in the dark, but some couldn't. And they held an assembly, and they said, "What can we do about this? We have these eyes, but only some of us can use them." And so there was a voice that said, "I have heard that in the East they have something called fire, and it is warm and it has light that will help us see." And so they all said, "Let's do this. We should do this." And the animals and birds were especially excited. The humans were small and kind of weak, so they hung back. And there was a voice right away that said, "I'll go. I can do this, Grandmother Spider. I will go and I will steal the fire from the East, just a little bit, just enough for us." But she was small, and her voice was tiny, and so she kind of got, stamped on and trampled by the other animals that were all jostling at the front, and no one listened to her. Possum said, "I have nice sharp teeth if there's any danger, and I have this beautiful bushy tail that I can hide the fire in so they won't even see me leaving with it. I'll take care of it." And they all agreed Possum is the person for the job. Possum was on it. So Possum crept over to the east, swam across the river, crept up to the fire, put the fire in his bushy tail, and guess what? It flamed up into a great big fire. He had tried to hide it, but the people of the East said, "Oh no, Possum is stealing our fire!" And they grabbed it back, and Possum's tail was all singed down, and to this day, possums have thin, skinny tails. So next they met again, and they said, "Well, who can do this? We need to have a better plan." And Grandmother Spider said, "I can do it. I got this. Trust me." But no one listened, and they trampled all over, and she had to skitter out of the way. So Buzzard said, "I got this. I have a great big plume of feathers. They're beautiful. Everyone notices them, and I can just hide them in the feathers, and they won't even see, because I'm just beautiful, right? They'll just be distracted." And everyone said, "That's the way to go. Send Buzzard, and he's got those big wings too. He'll be so fast." So Buzzard flew clear across the river, straight to the fire, put it in his big, bushy, beautiful feathers, and they, of course, went up in flame again, and the people of the East were like, we're stealing that back from you. You cannot have our fire." And to this day, Buzzard has an ugly, wrinkled-looking, burned-looking neck, all pink and irritated. It didn't work. So they gathered again, and once again, Grandmother Spider tried so hard to be heard, but they didn't listen. And the crow, who had the most beautiful singing voice and was pure white and also extremely clever, said, "Not only do I have fast wings, but I'm smart. If you let me go after that fire, I will think of a way to carry it away safely without getting burned." And they had figured out by now that fire is a little dangerous. They're like, yes, let's send Crow. Crow is clever. Crow has this. But have you ever seen a crow when they see something bright? The crow got to the fire and was so captivated by it that the crow danced around trying to pick out what's the best piece to grab. I can't decide. The smoke went into Crow's lungs. Crow's feathers got singed, and the people saw this big white crow jumping around by the fire and chased him away. So the crow failed as well. Now at last, they were about to give up. And Spider thought, I don't know if it's even worth trying again. I almost get stepped on. Nobody listens to me. My voice is little. I should maybe just go home and take care of my babies and my grandbabies. No one cares. But I'm going to try one more time. Because Spider knew that everyone needed fire. They needed it in their lives. So the animals and the birds said, we got nothing better to do. No one else wants to go anymore. Go ahead and give it a try, Grandmother Spider. So here's what she did. She went to the river, and by the riverbank there was clay. And she made a tiny little pot with a top out of the clay. And then Spider let her web blow up into the breeze as spiders do, and it lifted her up and over the river all the way to the people of the east. And she was so small that she crept up to the fire without them noticing and took just the tiniest bit that they would never miss, put it in her pot, and covered it up for safekeeping. And she went all the way back to the people where they had met. And when she got there, they said, you didn't get it either, see? And she opened the pot, and with the air, the fire bloomed into life, and she said, see, I did get it. I was successful. And immediately Bear, being greedy, grabbed the fire and said, oh, this is great, and it burned his paws. And when the animals and the birds saw what fire could do, they were afraid, and they said, we don't want it. But some small voices in the darkness, the humans, said we would. Grandmother Spider, could you teach us how to use the fire? And so she did. She taught them pottery, she taught them how to feed the fire, and she taught them weaving. And so Grandmother Spider brought this gift to the humans who knew how to use it and who could appreciate the light and the warmth it had to offer. Where do you see yourselves in this story? Story time. We'll sing the children. So we will sing the children's class. We have 2 children. We're going to go talk about the independent web of life. So it's a perfect thing today.
Opossums have the tails they have, but they do have sharp teeth, 50 of them to be exact. If you don't believe me, you can look at my leg after this. Their mouths are pointed, so. As we cultivate trustworthy relationships, we foster spiritual growth and community action. Let us sustain this mission and our institution by giving generously of our treasure. As always, our collection is split with half going to our monthly Share the Plate designee and half going to support UUCO. Our Share the Plate recipient this month is the Yoknapatawpha Arts Council, founded in 1972 with a mission to ensure a place for arts in the community. The Yoknapatawpha Arts Council offers a diverse range of programs, professional development services, and support to serve both artists and residents in Lafayette County. Also, please remember to drop any notes of grief, gratitude, or growth in the offering basket as they go around. The morning offering will now be greatly received. By the work of our hands and the work of our hearts, our love is made real. May we be grateful for all that is given and grateful for all that is shared. Now let us enter into the ritual like the one before us to share what is on our hearts and lay it at the altar of community and spirit. Using a pebble dropped into a bowl of water to symbolize the ripple effect of the events of our lives upon a larger community, we will now share the grief, gratitude, and moments of growth that have touched our lives since we were last together. Our first pebble is one of gratitude for our visitors. Thank you, sir. For our visitors and friends, we offer a warm welcome to you. We are so happy you're here today. Our second pebble is one of grief for people suffering from the actions of the current political administration. Our hearts go out to the people everywhere who have had their lives altered due to war, violence, or hate. Mary Keha has a gratitude. Thanks for keeping positive intentions for Michael Leon, who is trying to ready his van for Betsy. They hope to get a new service dog. And Wendy Fringer has a gratitude. Join Oxford High School Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday this week for their production of Grease. Teague is performing, but the big joy is our community that invests in its children. And Michaeline and I actually have a grief. We're leaving tomorrow to go see friends in Arizona. One of her, she calls him her god cousin because he's her godmother's nephew, but he collapsed at work right before we left on our trip, and it was determined that he had a stage 4 brain cancer. So he has gone back to his home in Arizona, and we're going to go spend some time with them next week. Are there any others? So we finally drop a pebble into the water for all the grief, gratitude, and growth moments that remain unspoken. All that we hold in our hearts for ourselves, for each other, and for the world is held in this community by a love that is limitless. Thank you. Our second reading today is from Matthew 6:25 through 24. Therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet our Heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And why do you worry about clothes? See how the flowers grow in the field. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like any of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you, O ye of little faith? So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat? What shall we drink? Or what shall we wear? For pagans run all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek for his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Our speaker today is Robin Whitfield. Robin is a Mississippi-based watercolor artist and executive director of Friends of Chocchima Swamp, the nonprofit organization she has founded to manage the Leetart Nature Preserve. Through her dual roles as an artist and a conservation leader, she fosters creative, educational, and ecological connections that inspire people to engage deeply with nature. Robin?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Well, Like I am deeply honored to be here with y'all this morning, and I do a lot of speaking around the state, and it's usually like garden clubs and Rotary, and I've never had the opportunity to speak on a Sunday morning somewhere, and in such a kind of in a group of people where I feel like I'm actually going to be preaching to the choir, because the message I give y'all today is I feel like the message I've been asked to give. I think we each have a message that comes through us. I feel like we've been asked to, and so I'm sharing with y'all what I believe I've come here to share or understand. And so I started I'm just going to tell y'all, I'm normally giving 1 hour presentations, and I love to improv and just, meander for an hour when I'm asked to do that, but this morning I'm not going to do that. I've been asked for 15 minutes. So it is against my nature to use notes, but I'm going to be using notes for y'all as a mercy on y'all. So, it's probably going to be a little more awkward than I like it to be, but, because I like to see where my brain goes. But we'll talk afterwards. But I did want to start with, introducing myself, and you so beautifully introduced me. But I also, I wear many hats. I feel like I have many ways that people know me. In my community, I live in Grenada. I think some people don't only know me in one role. A lot of people know me as a collector of wild pigments. They know me as, of course, they know me as a teacher at the alternative school. I know me, of course, a watercolor painter and an executive director. Actually, a lot of people don't even know I'm an executive director. They just know I am a swamp woman. So today, I'm here as swamp woman this morning. I feel like that kind of encompasses all the things that I do. And so I want y'all to know swamp woman is speaking to you, okay? And I think swamp woman might have more to say than the other things. And so I like to give y'all context a little bit, like who is in front of me this morning, to help you understand, how my message has come to me and what I have to offer you. And so I want you to know that I came to Grenada in 1996 to paint murals in their school system. And I had gone to Delta State. I studied painting. I graduated with a fine arts degree, and with absolutely no plan for my life. Which, in retrospect, I tell all young people, I think that's the best way to do it, because I felt like I was led exactly where I needed to be. But at the time, I went to Grenada because they were willing to give me money to paint a mural. I was like, oh, all right. So there I am in this North Mississippi town after having lived in Cleveland in the Delta, which I never lived in. I'm from Clinton. I'm from an urban area. And so I was actually, I think, hungry for trees. And I tell y'all that because when I got to Grenada, I moved to a little apartment downtown. And right across, I didn't know anybody. I'm wildly shy. And I'm painting murals in the school all day. And I was looking for community. And for me, the easiest community was I saw trees on the other side of the river from our downtown. And so I thought, well, I like trees, and I've been missing trees. And so I went over across the river and discovered that it was this amazing swamp. And I'd never really been to a swamp before. And I also, I saw the swamp first, but, I saw second, it was a place where people dumped furniture. It was a place where people dropped off their dead dogs. They rode their mud trucks. You can just imagine any manner of neglect of a place. But I mean, its sacred nature was the first thing I noticed. It was stupendous. I could not believe this kind of place was treated in this way. But I began to go there every day. And so that every day really turned into a decade. And that swamp began to reveal to me things that, this is pre-internet, and I'm just going there as a city girl, scared like a lot of people are entering a new space and a wild space. But I began to explore it, with trepidation at first on foot. And I decided I wanted to be a watercolor painter in this time. And by the way, I ended up staying in Grenada because they kept hiring me to paint murals. So here I am 5 years later, I'm still painting murals. I painted an entire interior of a middle school there. I didn't intend to stay there. But after that 5 years happened, I discovered this swamp, and I bought a building in our downtown. That's roots right there. But really, it's this swamp. This swamp lured me. I didn't know what was happening to me, really. I mean, I don't know how it takes a decade to discover these things. But I'm starting my reading a little bit. I know I'm going to get off track. But I remember the thrill of entering the swamp forest not knowing what I might find or what mystery I might encounter. Like that's the feeling. It happened every time for a decade. I mean, it still happens, but it would be this thrill, and I would go deeper each time. Not knowing the names of things yet, but having this desire was growing in me. I had a tinge of fear at the beginning, but over time I learned there was nothing to truly fear. And fear is something that I feel like I deal with a lot now with watching the public enter the forest, and I do think that fear is a big part of what keeps us from wonder. And sure, I encounter snakes, spiders, and ultimately ticks. I didn't even know to be scared of ticks, but they are. So I'm not scared of them, but they bum me out. But over time I've been taught to be scared of these things. But you know what? The snake I encounter the most, and he's now one of my favorite creatures, a rough green snake. I love rough green snake. I don't know if y'all know, he's a little green snake. And spiders. Your story this morning. I mean, I began to watch. Other than having my face in them, I love them. And the orb weavers. I once watched a black widow fight with a bumblebee. Having these encounters actually dispelled my fears because it never harmed me, and it was only beautiful. What I slowly realized over time is that the wonder I would feel from each trip to the forest was much more powerful than my fear. And I also noticed any anxiety I might feel about life or worries would disappear while I was surrounded by the trees, the waters, the birds, and butterflies. I didn't have names for them yet. Over the next decade, the forest revealed amazing beauty and diversity to me. I wanted to know the names of everything. I devoured field guides. I ultimately took the Master Naturalist course. You were in my class, right? Yeah, we were. This is at the Strawberry Plains Audubon Center, and they had the most fabulous Master Naturalist course there. I couldn't have asked for a better deep introduction to the names of things and how it's all connected. And then I also found lots of cool people to hang out with. I got a couple in this room over here who I've learned many things from, and so I don't think that's necessary to be able to connect. Sometimes 3-year-olds, are they not the best at being full of wonder? Because they don't know anything. That's why they are filled with wonder. But learning the names of things does sometimes help you connect a little bit, because you can learn more. So I got my first kayak in 2005, and that was a game changer for me. I could slip into the swamp and float through the cypress watching prothonotary warblers. I could watch these ripples in the water that, I love this ritual, by the way. I've never seen that before. I could just float. And in that moment, to me, it was like, kind of like I love mythology. And I thought of myself as almost like leaving reality and going towards Avalon. The second I got in that boat, I felt safe. And, the quietness of I guess, my inner self allowed, to me, everything got quiet and I could really become aware. I'm telling y'all the story about myself. Y'all will understand what happened next, and in the context of the message, I'm about to bring to you. So, fast forward to 2016. I parked early one morning in August to paint all day at the swamp. But when I pulled up, I saw bright pink timber harvest ribbons fluttering around the perimeter, and this is a 300-acre area. And I soon discovered that the city of Grenada, who owned the property, intended to sell the timber off of this 300 acres, plus all their other wooded areas in town. And that day changed my life. So what happened the next couple of years, in and of itself, is a story, and I do not have time to tell you all the whole story right now. But I'm going to focus, I'm going to wrap around a little bit back to that story. But I want to talk a little bit more about wonder, and really what wonder did for me in that moment, and for the swamp. So wonder. For me, wonder is a sacred space. It's a pure form of prayer. It's the opposite of fear. I put them kind of on polar ends. Really because it is a type of love. Wonder and love could probably, love is so all-encompassing, but I think wonder is a type of reverence and love. It's that state where you are completely present and connected with the real through beauty and mystery. I believe this is the natural human state. A state we're meant to be in often. We're creative beings with beautiful brains that can pay attention with eyes and ears and nose in the way rain or sun feels on our skin and become grounded in place. In this state, anxiety and worries cannot exist. It is often just a few moments, maybe 10 or 15 minutes even if we're lucky. And to be truthful, this is why I paint. I can be in that state in a sustained way through the course of an hour or more when I'm really, painting. The painting allows me to be really, aware. So what happens when you look up? These days, I don't always have time to paint. And when I begin to worry or feel my mind beginning to spin with work left undone, I have to try to seek ways of connecting to this wonder in other ways. And earlier this week, I found myself anxious. I knew I had a full week of projects, schoolworks, grant report, painting commission, teaching engagements, this talk, and just general living. And I mean, I hope this doesn't sound familiar, but I'm going to guess that maybe we're all pretty busy these days. I feel like everybody I know I've never felt this busy before. I get a call and I go to meet my contractor at the swamp. This is just earlier this week. Hang on. Okay, I'm just going to read what I wrote. My contractor at the swamp called right as I was making my list and asked me to meet at the observation deck at Lee Tartt Nature Preserve, which he's remodeling with ADA features and step seating down to the swamp surface. So after we made our plan with I have a huge grant deadline breathing on. I got 1 and a half weeks to finish this, and I sat down on the decks after he left, and with my notebook in my hand to think about even today and all the things I needed to do. And I thought about how I wanted to talk to y'all and share with y'all about wonder and how could I possibly offer something meaningful to y'all. And I had that kind of anxiety on me. So I was staring at a blank page when I felt a water droplet on my arm, then another, then another. It started to gently rain. And this was not in the forecast. How rain, not at all. And I was forced to put up my notebook and just look up out at the swamp. I'm sitting on the deck in the swamp looking at a notebook, worrying. That snapped me out. And so this is what happened. All of a sudden, I slipped into that state. A white egret stood against the dark water about 20 feet away. It slowly waded in the shallows beneath a cluster of cypress trees. Movement caught my eye, and I saw the bobbing butt of a northern water thrush 10 feet from my face. It called several times, then flew away. Thunder began to rumble in the distance, and the raindrops came down more quickly. I heard the chitter of hummingbirds as they whizzed by, diving into the jewelweed that surrounds the deck, diving into each other. I could hear the white-eyed vireo calling from somewhere in the canopy of the tupelos above me. Red-shouldered hawk called nearby, mixed with the distant sounds of the city a quarter mile away. Now at this point, I knew I was in a full-on state of wonder, and I relaxed into it, noticing the cypress trees right in front of me. Their trunks rising from the water, covered in frilly gray-blue patches of lichen, pale green and shaggy dark green mosses, thick black hairy roots with fingers and other gnarly roots gripping them, a skirt of a variety of green plants shooting up from crevices in the folds of the buttresses and scaly bark, its orange-brown color weaving up through the life it supports. One small cypress knee was visible against the surface, whose steel gray color was patterned with raindrops and the ripple effect they create. Yellow tupelo leaves dotted the gray-green surface. So my phone made a noise and pulled me back into reality. But the effect of that wonder remained. I have no idea how long that span of time was either. It was fabulous. I knew the experience was exactly what I needed to share. The experience and the importance of being present and allowing ourselves to be present. Wonder is only possible through presence and connection, which for me is the same thing. It is not always possible to be in a place as amazing as the swamp, but I believe it's possible anywhere, anytime, through the active seeking of beauty through the senses. Sometimes it's hard to find on a campus or in a car, pumping gas, buying groceries, but I'm convinced that is the moment you begin to pay attention. I'm convinced that the moment you begin to pay attention to the world, gazing instead of just looking. I talk a lot about that when I teach workshops. Looking is very practical, keeps you from bumping into stuff, but gazing is something intentional. Just looking at Facebook or the news for more than a minute these days causes my body to tense. I'm offering to you an antidote to fear and worry. It can't change everything, but is a temporary state It's a temporary state, but its impact is real and cumulative. So, I want to tell y'all that wonder has a practical side. I know a lot of this, when I talk to a lot of groups, this kind of stuff ends up slipping into my presentations. I feel like I'm always preaching to people, even at like Rotary, and then I always end up feeling like I have a spiritual message. And, but wonder is practical. So the rest of the story I kind of started with, I'm gonna kind of wrap up with that story. I'm circling back around to tell you about the timber harvest of the swamp. I wanted to share a little more to make my case for the power of wonder. I had no knowledge or experience to stop that forest from being harvested, but I had two things. I had a relationship with the city. I think relationships are important. And I had a sense of wonder strong enough to get me in front of that city council. I was a shy person. But actually from that moment on, I've seemed to be willing to speak to anybody because I realized I was filled with a wonder that I saw wasn't present in my community. And it took me in front of people. So I thought, if anything, that's all I've got to try to save what I love so much. And I believe that it's important to not have anger or fear when trying to do something important. I'm asking myself right now, I'm looking at the state of the world and what our country's doing and what we're talking about, and I still believe that not having anger and fear and hate is a huge part of that. And I think of wonder as this antidote. So love, beauty, and connection are the ingredients of wonder to me. And somehow, I was able to communicate something beyond what I knew how to say at these council meetings. I went to them every month. And I would show pictures of paintings, and I would show pictures of plants and animals. And I don't know, the council was, like any city council. But I will say, they didn't shut me down, okay? In the end, we were able to be the high bidder on the timber sale. Now, I'm telling you, there's some miracles involved, but I'm going to still say, I think the state of wonder I was in, I was able to pass on to other people. And other people joined, this was like a snowball rolling. And so I ended up gathering a lot of my community, and through our own state of wonder, I think we never, the city just needed money, And so I'm just going to read what I have. In the end, we were able to be the high bidder in the timber sale, thanks to hundreds of people who adopted trees for their timber value, and especially to one major donor who, without a big check, this would not be happening. I wrote this late last night, y'all. I'll speak of I think I'm trying to say in this sentence does not make sense, that I was one of many. I was part of a citizen group at this point, but it was my wonder, I think, that kind of lit a fire under people. This fire thing is so great. So the city ended up negotiating a 60-year lease for the price of the trees. And I did not do this willingly, but I'm just going to give it to wonder as well. I ended up realizing that I was going to have to form a 501c3 and form a nonprofit to hold this lease. And I realized that in that moment that this was the invitation from the universe to have a platform to offer wonder to my entire, not just my small community, but I think of my community as everyone. Regionally or nationally or whatever. But here, it's also a very conveniently located swamp, right? 2 miles from the interstate. So, I believe wonder saved the swamp, and I knew I was being called to continue to share this wonder with creativity, curiosity, and community. That's sort of our mission statement too. I've written a little note. I believe it holds the power to save us as individuals and community because it is how we connect. I'm going to close there. Thank you.
Let's just sit with that for a moment. Close your eyes if you'd like. Let us sit for a moment in community and think about how nature impacts us every day. How sunlight lifts our spirits and clouds cool us from the heat. How green grass feels to our bare feet and autumn leaves crunch below our shoes. How the spring flowers give us hope and the cold winter days give us time to rest, knowing that we can always turn to nature for comfort. Just take a moment. We will extinguish our chalice today with a message from Elizabeth Sell Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we will carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our closing hymn is number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth.
Pretty familiar one. I think when you want to slow through the last two bars as intro, I think I'll slow it down.
It's not a dance.